Sony hasn't announced the A7S IV? No teaser, no leaked images, no spec sheet floating around the internet. And yet, this might be the most important camera Sony hasn't released yet. Welcome to Alt Buzz. If you want grounded camera coverage without hype or fake leaks, consider subscribing. Because what I'm about to break down goes deeper than most rumor channels will ever tell you. Here's why this camera matters more than people think. The A7S III launched in 2020. That's a lifetime ago in camera technology. Think about it. When that camera dropped, the world looked different. The way we created content looked different. And now, 6 years later, the market has moved on without Sony's low-light king. Canon pushed resolution with the R5 and R5 Mark II. Panasonic pushed flexibility with the S5 series and the Lumix ecosystem. And Sony? Sony stayed silent, watching, waiting, calculating. So this isn't just about specs on a rumor site. It's about whether Sony still believes in the A7S philosophy. The philosophy that says you don't need 50 megapixels to tell a powerful story. That clean shadows at 12,800 ISO matter more than resolution charts. That reliability beats revolutionary every single time. Because let's be real, the A7S III didn't just compete, it dominated. Low-light performance that felt like cheating, video specs that put cinema cameras to shame, and autofocus so good it made manual focus feel like ancient history. But that was 6 years ago, and the competition hasn't been sleeping. To talk about rumors responsibly, we need to set some rules. Here's how we do rumors on Alt Buzz. No fake leaks from anonymous sources, no trust me bro spec sheets designed to farm clicks, and most importantly, clear separation between fact, likelihood, and pure speculation. When I say something is confirmed, it means Sony said it, or credible industry insiders with proven track records reported it. When I say something is likely, it means the pattern fits Sony's behavior and multiple independent sources align. And when I say something is speculation, I'll tell you exactly why it might be wishful thinking. This channel exists because too many rumor sites treat guesses like gospel. They'll take a Reddit comment and turn it into a headline. They'll Photoshop renders and call them leaks. And when the actual camera drops and nothing matches, they just move on to the next rumor cycle. Not here. If you appreciate that kind of coverage, subscribing genuinely helps this channel grow. It tells YouTube that people want depth over hype, analysis over clickbait. So what do we actually know? Sony hasn't canceled the A7S line. That's important to establish because some corners of the internet love declaring product lines dead. They did it with the A7S III during the chip shortage. They did it when Sony launched the FX3. And they're doing it again now. But here's the thing, the A7S III is still officially supported. It's still in Sony's current lineup. Still getting firmware updates, still recommended by Sony for professional video work. Companies don't quietly maintain cameras they've abandoned. They let them fade, and Sony isn't letting this fade. Look at Sony's recent camera releases. The A7 IV just dropped in December 2025. And what did it bring? Heavy AI processing, faster sensor readout, improved autofocus tracking. These aren't isolated features. They're building blocks. Technologies Sony tests in mainstream cameras before pushing them into specialized tools. Sony doesn't abandon platforms quietly, they evolve them. And that evolution, if history tells us anything, likely starts with the sensor. If there's one rumor that keeps coming back from multiple credible sources, it's this. The A7S IV may feature a new stacked or dual-layer sensor architecture. Now, before your eyes glaze over at technical jargon, let me explain why this matters. The A7S III uses a 12.1 megapixel back-illuminated sensor. It's brilliant, but it's also 6 years old. Sensor technology has evolved dramatically since 2020. Stacked sensors allow faster readout speeds. Faster readout means less rolling shutter. Less rolling shutter means cleaner motion when panning. Cleaner motion means your footage looks more cinematic without expensive post-production stabilization. Dual-layer sensors, like the tech Sony's been developing, can capture more dynamic range by reading highlights and shadows independently. Imagine pulling detail from blown-out skies and deep shadows in the same frame without that weird HDR look. That's the promise. This isn't about chasing megapixels. Sony learned that lesson. The A7S line exists because sometimes less is more. Bigger photo sites, better light gathering, cleaner high ISO performance. But what if you could keep that philosophy and add modern sensor tech on top? Multiple sources, including Daily Camera News and credible industry analysts, have suggested Sony's been testing sensors in the 20 to 24 megapixel range. Not the 12.1 we're used to, not the 61 megapixels from the A7R line. Something in between. A sweet spot that gives you cropping flexibility and better 4K extraction without sacrificing the low-light magic. Every major Sony video camera leap starts at the sensor. The A7S II to A7S III jump? New sensor. The FX3? Leverage that same sensor tech. If the A7S IV is coming, the sensor is where the revolution begins. And that leads directly into video performance. Quick pause. If you want deeper breakdowns, long-term camera testing, and updates I don't always post on YouTube, check out the AltBuzz website. It's linked in the description below. Real reviews, no affiliate pressure, just honest analysis. And if you want early access to content, behind-the-scenes research, and member-only deep dives, the AltBuzz channel membership is open. Totally optional, but it directly supports this kind of research-driven work. All right, back to the camera. Let's talk expectations, because this is where rumor sites lose their minds. You'll see headlines screaming 8K at 120 frames per second. You'll see speculation about raw internal recording at insane bit rates. And you'll see people setting themselves up for disappointment. Here's the reality. 8K doesn't fit the A7S identity. It never has. The A7S III maxed out at 4K 120 frames per second. Not because Sony couldn't do 8K, they already had 8K in the A1, but because the A7S line prioritizes image quality over resolution wars. What makes more sense? 6K recording with pristine oversampled 4K output. Think about it. Shoot in 6K, deliver in 4K. The oversample gives you sharper detail, better color science, and more flexibility in post. And it keeps file sizes manageable for editors who don't have NASA-grade computers. Rumors from Lens Logic and other sources point to exactly this. 6K capability, possibly at 60 or 120 frames per second, with advanced codec options for professionals who need them, but also simplified modes for creators who just want to hit record and trust the camera. Sony doesn't chase spec sheet wins. They chase cameras that work every time you press record, that don't overheat during a wedding ceremony, that don't drop frames during a paid client shoot. Reliability over resolution, always. But specs don't matter if autofocus can't keep up. This won't be flashy. It won't be the headline feature Sony puts in commercials, but it might be the most important upgrade in the A7S IV. Sony's autofocus is already industry-leading. The A7S III can track eyes through obstacles. It can lock onto subjects in near darkness. It's borderline witchcraft. But AI has changed the game since 2020. Look at the A7 V. It uses AI-based subject recognition. Not just faces, entire subjects, animals, vehicles, complex scenes with multiple moving elements. And it does this while learning patterns in real time. Now imagine that processing power in a camera built for video. Better subject detection when shooting run-and-gun documentary footage. Smarter tracking during chaotic event coverage. Smoother transitions between subjects without hunting. Sony's advantage has always been consistency. Their autofocus doesn't just work in perfect conditions. It works when the lights go out, when the subject's moving unpredictably, when you're shooting through a crowd. That consistency, enhanced by modern AI, could make the A7S IV almost autonomous. And that's where the new processor comes in. The A7 V uses the Bion's XR chip with AI acceleration. If the A7S IV gets the next generation of that chip, or even a specialized version tuned for video, we're talking about real-time processing that would have required a desktop computer 6 years ago. So when does the A7S IV actually arrive? There's no confirmed launch date. Let me say that again. There is no confirmed launch date. If someone gives you a month, they're guessing. If someone gives you a specific event like CP Plus or CES, they're speculating based on patterns. Educated speculation, maybe, but still speculation. Here's what we know. Sony Alpha Rumors, one of the more credible tracking sites, suggests late 2026 is the likely window. Why? Because Sony tends to refresh major lines on 4 to 6 year cycles. The A7S III dropped in July 2020. 6 years later puts us in mid to late 2026. But here's the nuance. Sony doesn't announce cameras on predictable schedules anymore. They announce when the product is ready, when the supply chain can support it, when the market timing makes strategic sense. The A7 V just launched in December 2025. Sony won't cannibalize their own release cycle, so if the A7S IV is coming in 2026, it won't be in the first quarter, it'll be later. When the A7 V has settled into the market, when the rumors have built enough anticipation that the announcement feels like relief. Real leaks don't scream, they whisper. They show up in supplier chain reports, in patent filings, in offhand comments from Sony executives during earnings calls, not in photoshopped renders on forums. Which brings us to the bigger picture. Sony isn't late, they're being deliberate, and there's a reason for that. The FX line exists now, the FX3, FX30, FX6. These cameras blur the line between cinema tools and hybrid shooters, and they share DNA with the A7S III. Same sensor, similar processing, different form factor. So Sony has to answer a hard question. What does the A7S IV do that the FX3 doesn't? Why would a professional videographer choose the photo-style body over the cinema form factor? The answer probably lies in versatility. The A7S line has always been the hybrid, amazing video, but also capable stills, compact enough to travel, discreet enough for documentary work, professional enough for paid gigs. If Sony can give the A7S IV modern sensor tech, improved autofocus, and better video specs while keeping it nimble, they've got a winner. But that takes time, engineering time, testing time, market positioning time, and let's be honest, the market is saturated. Canon's releasing cameras every quarter, Panasonic's undercutting on price, Nikon's catching up in video. Sony doesn't need to rush a half-baked product into a crowded field. They need to release something that reminds everyone why the A7S III dominated for 6 years. The A7S IV doesn't need to win a spec war. It needs to earn trust. My honest take? The A7S IV will be evolutionary, not revolutionary. It won't reinvent cameras. It won't make the A7S III obsolete overnight. But it will refine everything that made the A7S philosophy matter in the first place. Better sensor, smarter processing, cleaner video, more reliable autofocus. And that's exactly what the A7S line has always been about. Not flashy innovation, dependable excellence. If you value calm, credible camera coverage without the hype machine, make sure you're subscribed to Alt Buzz. And if this video helped you navigate the rumor landscape, super thanks are always appreciated. They directly support future deep dive research like this. For more in-depth analysis, behind-the-scenes testing, and member-only content, check out the Alt Buzz website and membership options in the description. Thanks for watching.